Hello, I'm Archie Luxury and welcome to the program. Today I'd like to go through the 10 greatest wrist watches of all time, and this is the revised 2012 edition. That's right, the 10 greatest wristwatches of all time revised for 2012. Now, many of you guys have commented on my video that I made before, which was the 10 greatest wristwatches of all time. And I thought it was only fair that I revised it, and I've decided to put some rules in this time for the running of it. And the rules are that each brand can only have one entry for that particular brand. So for example, I award a spot to the Rolex Datejust. That means I cannot also have a spot for a Rolex Submariner. It's for each brand, they get one listing only. So these are the rules, and I think this is going to make for some really entertaining discussion. And send me your comments and let me know what you think. I've put a lot of effort into this list, and I'm very keen to hear what my viewers think of this list. And so let's start from number one position, the greatest wristwatch of all time. The greatest wristwatch of all time, well, it has to be the Patek Philippe Calatrava. And I think with the brand Patek Philippe, it is clearly the king in the watch industry. And I've heard it referred to as the young king. And it's the king, and the genre of Patek Philippe, it's the classic dress watch. And it doesn't get any more classic, any more elegant, any more stylish than a Patek Calatrava. And if you pushed me and said, okay, Archie, which model in the Calatrava range is the epitome of the Patek Philippe brand, the times that we live in, and I would have to say it's got to go to the Patek 5107 Calatrava. And that's the piece that I've got. That's the piece that Nick Folks said is the greatest Calatrava, greatest Patek of all time. And I agree 100%. I mean, the piece is classic in the sense it's got those 1960s hands. It's got the smooth bezel, which is similar to the first Calatrava that was released in the 1930s. However, it's a modern size. It's 37mm excluding the crown. It's an automatic movement with a nice big 22 carat rotor in gold on the back. It's a display back. It's got a date at the 3, and it just is oozing charm, elegance, and to bring it up into this sports world that we live in, it's got crown guards. So I think the Patek Philippe Calatrava, I'm awarding it the greatest wristwatch of all time, and it's just an absolute classic in the Patek brand there. Okay, position number 2, very, very competitive for this top billing. And after a lot of debate, I've awarded it to the Rolex Submariner. That's right, the Rolex Submariner wins this award. And the reason I say that is it's just sports watches are so in. And for the last 10 years, it's really been the sports watches that the collectors have gone nuts for. And nothing is quite as popular as a Rolex Submariner. Sure, there are assholes who wear them. Yes, there's a lot of criticism I have for the Submariner with the punters who've bought them. However, it still can't take away from the fact the Rolex Submariner is the most popular Rolex. It's the most highly sought after Rolex, and it represents the brand in our modern times. So the Rolex Submariner, whether it's two-tone, solid gold, or all steel, it makes no difference whether the piece has a date or it's a no-date model. It makes no difference if it's sapphire, plastic, or it's a new ceramic version. And the Rolex Submariner, it can do no wrong. And I think, giving a bit of a wide brush here, we'd also say the Sea Dweller belongs in the same category here, because it's a Rolex. It started off as a Rolex Submariner Sea Dweller, so it equally, I think, could fit into this genre of piece here. So the Rolex Submariner would have to be one of the greatest wristwatches of all time, and I'm awarding it spot number 2 in the 10 greatest wristwatches of all time. Okay, spot number 3 in this contest here, and I'm awarding it to the Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso. And it's 2012, and last year was 2011, and that was the 80th anniversary of the release of the first Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso. And everyone's heard the story of the polo players in India and how the watch was designed for these aristocratic officers. But the Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso, it easily gets its spot here in the queue, and the reason is, Jaeger-LeCoultre not only is the Reverso one of its iconic models, but Jaeger-LeCoultre has such a magnificent history. Jaeger-LeCoultre made movements for Patek in the past, for Audemars Piguet, for Vacheron and Constantin. It's a fantastic brand without being a Holy Trinity member, and Jaeger-LeCoultre must score high for the huge contribution to watchmaking. And I make no apologies for putting the Jaeger-LeCoultre at position number 3. It deserves that position. And the Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso is one of the greatest icons in the watch industry. It's just classic. It's a square watch. It's a very complicated mechanism that allows the watch to rotate on a fixed bezel there. The way it's done is amazing. There we have it. Position number 3, the Jaeger-LeCoultre Reverso, and I think it's one of the icons in the watch industry there. Okay, moving right along now. Position 4, I've awarded to the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, the AP Royal Oak, and the reason I've done that is because, let's face it, Audemars Piguet is a classic, iconic brand. It's a Holy Trinity member. But until the Royal Oak came out in 1972, the brand was a bit lost. And the Royal Oak was one of the first steel luxury sports watches on the market. And it just revolutionized the whole watchmaking industry. And the Royal Oak is a Gerard Gentra classic. And that's the same designer who designed the Nautilus as well as the Vacheron 222. And you've got to really hand it to AP. I think out of all those watches there, the Royal Oak is probably the best as far as design excellence goes. And AP has put some of their best movements into the Royal Oak model. And the Royal Oak itself has spurted off into the offshore chrono. And whilst I'm not a particular fan of the ROO, the Royal Oak offshore chronograph, I can still respect it for how the traditional Royal Oak has allowed it to go off onto some different markets that you would never have imagined. And for that, you've got to appreciate the ROO is a great piece, and this traditional Royal Oak is where it all came from. So there we have it. Position 4, the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, and I think we can include the ROO, that's the offshore chronograph version, in that as well with the traditional Royal Oak. And both of those pieces there have a fantastic Audemars Piguet movement in them. And although, as I've said, they're not always to my taste, the ROOs, you still can't discount the fact they're one of the greatest watches of all time. Okay, position 5 in this hot contest here. I'm awarding position 5 to the Vacheron and Constantin Dress Watch Series. Now, this is an interesting placement because all the other watches in this list here are distinct models, But what I've done in Vacheron and Constantine's case, because they didn't traditionally name their models until the 80s when Patrimony came out for its dress range of pieces, I'm sort of saying I would classify Vacheron and Constantine dress watches in this line here. So there we have it, Vacheron and Constantine dress watches, and Vacheron and Constantine would have to be the retired grandfather king, and the glory days where it was number one position have long gone, and Patek has overtaken Vacheron, but that doesn't make Vacheron any less a brand. It's a fantastic brand, and the Vacheron and Constantine dress watch series is just an icon in the entire watch industry. Okay, you could say dress watches are a little bit out of flavour, but you cannot ever discount the fact that Vacheron has made some of the nicest dress watches in living history, and it's a brand which is one of the oldest brands in existence, with customers like Queen Elizabeth, queens, popes, and even Napoleon. I mean, can Vacheron be that wrong? And Vacheron's just a iconic brand. It's just a wonderful piece of watchmaking art. So there we have, I've awarded position 5 to the Vacheron and Constantine dress watch series, which you'd say now is the Patrimony, but I'm including all Vacheron dress watches in this rating because the brand is so special. Okay, position 6. And for this here, I'm awarding it to the Lange 1. The Lange 1 is a fantastic watch, which is very, very German in its execution, and it owes its very existence to the fact that the Berlin Wall came down and the new Germany. And I think very proudly you can say that Lange 1 represents the modern times, and even though it's a complete new company compared to other watchmakers that have had continual existence, it takes a lot from its history. Fine watchmaking at its grandest. And the Lange 1, it's an interesting piece. Because Lange didn't exist in the 50s and 60s, they don't have any ugly bastard children to hide. And many watchmakers now are ashamed of the super thin watches they had, or the quartz pieces in the 70s, whereas Lange doesn't have these sins to cover up because they weren't in existence then. But the Lange 1 is just a lovely piece of watchmaking, and it's a brand which really ties with any Holy Trinity member. And you've got to hand it to those Germans. Before the Lange 1 was relaunched, you would say it's a Swiss thing, but now after the Lange 1, you'd say it's a European thing. So the Lange 1, I'm awarding 6th spot in our list of the 10 greatest wristwatches of all time. Okay, position 7, I'm awarding to the Cartier 18-carat tank watch. And although of recent times I've lost faith in Cartier because of its many quartz pieces of shit, I do have to make a spot for the Cartier, the Louis Cartier tank. That's the original tank watch, and that piece there is a sort of piece that John F. Kennedy wore. It's just a classic piece which changed the whole industry. Based on a tank, a Renault tank from World War One, the Cartier tank is just iconic, and it's just one of the legends in the watch industry. And the original tank was based on a movement supplied by LeCoultre, so it certainly has a great couple of companies involved in its creation. But the Cartier tank, I think the 18-carat Louis Cartier tank deserves a spot, and I'm happy to reserve that place for them. So that's the Cartier 18-carat Louis Cartier tank. Okay, position 8 in our list here, I'm awarding to the Omega Speedmaster Man on the Moon watch. And with the original incarnation, with the 3-2-1 movement, followed by the 8-6-1 movement, followed by the 1-8-6-1 movement, that Lemania-based movement is one of the greatest chronographs of all time. And I mean, the NASA space flight. What greater honor can a watch have than being the official watch for NASA space flights? And it's a fantastic icon of the chronograph family, and Omega itself. I think it's probably the best, most collectible Omega in the range. And Omega of past has to be fondly remembered. And I think the Speedmaster, one of its enduring qualities is they've changed it so little over the years. And I'm a great fan of the Omega Speedmaster Man on the Moon watch, and I proudly award position 8 in this hotly contested list here. Okay, position 9 in this list here, I'm awarding to the Breitling Navitimer. And whilst I am not happy with the Valjoux 7750 movement which the Navitimer uses, I'm going to award this prize to the Navitimer anyhow, because it's a iconic automatic chronograph, and it's also got the most beautiful dial. And Breitlings themselves, they always were big sized, even when it was fashionable to be small. So you've really got to say Breitling is a company that hasn't just gone to this new trend of oversized watches like Audemars Piguet has. It's a company which has always traditionally made nice big pieces. And for that, I'm awarding position number 9, the Breitling Navitimer. Okay, the final piece in the 10 greatest wristwatches of all time, I'm awarding to the Breguet dress watch. And Breguet is a brand which was also favoured by Napoleon. And it's a fantastic, iconic brand. And I don't think I could have constructed a list of the 10 greatest watches without at least including one Breguet there. And Breguet is a fantastic contributor to the Swiss watch industry. And even though it's not a Holy Trinity member, it's way up there. So there we go, position 10, I've awarded to the Breguet dress watch range of pieces. I'm Archie Luxury, and I hope you've enjoyed the 10 greatest wristwatches of all time, updated for 2012. Please let me know what you think of my selection here. Am I wrong? Have I made some mistakes? Do you disagree with my selection? Are you upset I've left off such hopeless pieces like the Seiko Grand or the Tag Heuer that your parents gave you? Please let me know, and I'll tell you gladly to go get fucked. I'm Archie Luxury. I hope you've enjoyed this clip.